Viewers, before we dive into this wild ride, post your location and local time in the comments. It's always fun to see where folks are tuning in from. Now picture Ezra Thornfield, third-generation cattle rancher in Millbrook County, Texas, coming back from a cattle auction, the trailer full of prime Black Angus swaying behind his battered Ford. The man's coffee mug, practically welded to his dashboard, rattles loose when he hits the brakes. Why? Because stretching across Cottonwood Creek Road, the very road his grandfather carved stone by stone in 1962, stands 8 feet of brand-new privacy fence, the kind that smells of fresh lumber and bad intentions. A laminated sign flaps in the breeze. Private Road, Willowbrook Estates, residents only. At the other end of that wooden barricade stands Vivian Blackwood, clipboard in hand, the self-crowned empress of Willowbrook's HOA. 58 wrapped in designer athleisure Bluetooth earpiece blinking like a UFO landing light. She declares the road is secured for her subdivision's residents while Ezra's cattle begin to shift nervously in the trailer. That's the moment his simmering patience boils over. This wasn't just a fence, it was a slap across generations. Historians still argue whether the first fences built in Texas symbolize progress or division, but Ezra doesn't need a debate. He knows this one's war. Now the backstory. His grandfather built Cottonwood Creek Road with sweat and a beat-up Ford that leaked more oil than a 1970s tanker. The agreement was simple. Neighbors could use the road, but Thornfields always kept the right-of-way. That easement ran with the land forever, or so the dusty paperwork said. For decades it was fine. Then came Willowbrook Estates, springing up like an architectural weed packed with neighbors allergic to diesel fumes, manure, and anything resembling honest work. Vivian had tested the waters earlier, cornering Ezra at Murphy's Hardware, with a generous offer to buy him out. She called his ranch an establishment like it was a seedy nightclub. When he tipped his John Deere cap and declined her plastic smile, cracked just enough to reveal the shark teeth underneath. From that day, the violation letters rolled in livestock odor, complaints, tractor noise citations, unsightly farm machinery violations, all stamped with a leafy HOA logo that probably cost more than Ezra's monthly hay bill. He laughed, tossed them in the wood stove, and went about his chores. But the fence was no paper threat. It turned his family's legacy into a locked cage. He climbed out of the truck boots, crunching gravel, and told Vivian flatly, "This is my family's road." She corrected him with a smirk. "Was your road." That single word was hit harder than any legal jargon. Ezra knew polite conversation and peach cobbler diplomacy were officially off the table. What came next wasn't just about a fence. It was about a community soul, a man's legacy, and whether Texas grit could outlast suburban entitlement. Ezra's first stop after the fence fiasco is Garrett Mills, his old high school buddy turned property lawyer with a reputation sharper than barbed wire. Garrett flips through faded deeds in his leather-scented office, grinning like a card shark. "Ezra, your granddad gave you the gift that keeps on giving. This easement runs forever. No HOA vote can erase it. Easements are like herpes. Once you've got them, they never go away." Ezra laughs despite himself, though he mutters that his grandfather would have preferred a more poetic metaphor. Historians still argue whether lawyers or comedians deliver the better one-liners, but Garrett just proved you can be both. A cease and desist letter goes out the same day, ordering fence removal within 48 hours. Vivian's counterattack arrives from a slick Dallas firm that bills more per hour than Ezra makes moving cattle in a week. They claim the easement expired and that cattle trailers are commercial traffic, incompatible with residential standards. As a compromise, she offers Ezra the privilege of buying daily permits, $25 each, filed 72 hours in advance. Translation: beg Vivian for permission every time he feeds his cows. Over his dead body. Sarah, Ezra's wife and the best veterinarian in 3 counties, slides him a business card over dinner. Inspector Rodriguez, County Planning. Call him, she says, calm as ever. Turns out fences taller than 6 feet need permits. Vivian never applied. Rodriguez shows up at Willowbrook Estates with a clipboard and a smirk. Ma'am, this fence violates setback rules and blocks an established easement. He slaps a stop work order on it like a sheriff serving eviction papers. The HOA queen's face turns the color of undercooked brisket. But if Ezra thinks this wins the war, he underestimates suburban stubbornness. Vivian doubles down, rallying her board at late-night meetings. Rumor has it she calls it her security council. The ranching community, meanwhile, decides they've had enough. Saturday morning, 23 trucks rumble down County Road 47 in solidarity, horns blaring at dawn. The cacophony echoes across Willowbrook's manicured lawns like a symphony of diesel-fueled protest. Sheriff Patterson gets called in, but he just shrugs. Honking isn't illegal, ma'am. Maybe buy earplugs. Ezra turns every insult into ammunition. When HOA hired rent-a-cops patrol the fence line, his trail cameras catch them trespassing, littering, even relieving themselves behind his barn. Rodriguez nearly chokes on laughter reviewing the footage. Garrett digs deeper and finds the HOA violated Texas open meeting law, avoiding every expensive vote they've taken. Ezra's poker face settles in. He's not playing checkers anymore. He's stacking evidence like hay bales in July. Sarah joins the fight, her veterinary precision now aimed at courthouse records. One dusty afternoon, she discovers the federal grant that funded Cottonwood Creek Road back in 1967. Federal money means federal strings. The road must stay open for agricultural access forever. Blocking it could cost the HOA $340,000 plus decades of interest. Ezra whistles low. That fence is starting to look like the priciest mistake in Texas. And still, Vivian escalates smear campaigns in the local Gazette, anonymous EPA complaints, even harassing Sarah's veterinary clients. But each stunt backfires. Neighbors start whispering, then openly questioning their HOA dues. Ezra feels the tide shifting. The rancher who once stood alone at a fence now has an army of allies armed with law books, horn-honking pickups, and a memory of what community really means. The cracks in Vivian's empire spread faster than drought through summer grass. Garrett's paralegal uncovers the mother lode, the original Willowbrook development permit, hidden in misfiled records, complete with a clause requiring full compatibility with existing agricultural operations. Translation: no one can legally restrict Ezra's ranch. Worse still, emails show Vivian knew about it from day one. She'd concealed it while parading around like queen of suburbia. Ezra sits back in Garrett's office chair, slow smile forming. She thinks she's playing chess. Turns out we're playing poker and she just showed her hand. From there, it's a domino collapse. Sarah's late-night research reveals Vivian is a disbarred California lawyer with a fraud conviction. HOA bylaws require disclosure of criminal records, and she never mentioned a word. Neighbors who once followed her clipboard orders now mutiny, refusing to pay special assessments for her fence fantasy. 3 board members resign in 1 week. One even leaks text messages showing Vivian scheming with developers to flip the ranch into a strip mall. Historians still argue whether greed or arrogance topples leaders faster, but in Vivian's case, the two marched arm in arm toward disaster. Then comes the midnight sabotage. Security footage catches her with bolt cutters draining Ezra's cattle tanks in the August heat. Sheriff Patterson bags the tools, fingerprints matching Vivian's license records. Charges follow: destruction of property, agricultural terrorism, conspiracy to commit arson, after audio surfaces of her plotting to torch the fence. At dawn, FBI agents load evidence boxes into unmarked vans while she's marched out in designer pajamas, neighbors gawking behind curtains. By noon, hashtags like #RanchJustice and #HoKaren flood social media. Federal indictments rain down wire fraud, mail fraud conspiracy. Insurance fraud pushes her financial collapse into free fall. Foreclosure strips her McMansion, and the new HOA board offers a public apology along with a settlement check, so hefty Ezra jokes it needs its own cattle trailer. $275,000 plus attorney fees plus community grants for ranch education. It feels less like a victory lap and more like justice catching up with a bully. Community healing follows. Families once hostile now wander Ezra's pastures during Ranch Appreciation Day. Kids feeding calves while Sarah explains sustainable grazing. Local papers print Granddad's old quote, "This road will serve the community for generations." Turns out he was right. Ezra becomes a guest speaker at agricultural conferences. Lawyers call their victory the Thornfield Standard. Universities study the case as a model for agricultural preservation. Even PBS airs a documentary, yes, with Ezra's weathered porch face and Sarah's peach cobbler smile on national TV. 6 months later, Ezra sips coffee on that same porch watching cattle graze peacefully along Cottonwood Creek Road, now upgraded with a smart gate that charges Willowbrook residents a tidy toll every time they pass through. What began as an $8,000 HOA stunt now generates thousands monthly for the ranch. He chuckles remembering that moment. Vivian sneered, "Was your road?" She was right about one thing, the past tense, because now it isn't just a road, it's a living legacy. And as the Texas sun sets, he knows his grandfather would be proud. The pacing slows here, softening like the glow of lantern light at dusk. Ezra leans against the porch post, letting his breath match the rhythm of grazing cattle, the earth's steady heartbeat under his boots. Sarah's laughter drifts from the kitchen, warm and grounding, a reminder that through storms and courtroom battles, they held on to something greater than land dignity, family, and the quiet strength of standing firm. Neighbors who once glared now wave when they drive past the toll gate, clicking open like a symbol of lessons learned. The fence that once divided now becomes a memory, fading like the last streaks of color in the evening sky. The road stretches forward, not just gravel and dust, but possibility, connection, community renewed. The story doesn't end in bitterness, but in restoration. Streams run clearer, grass grows taller, and hope settles into the soil as deeply as the roots of the old oaks. Ezra closes his eyes, letting the wind brush his face, and whispers, "Thanks to the grandfather who built with stone, sweat, and vision." The fight is over. The land endures, and the man at last rests easy beneath the wide Texas sky.